Rock Talk.
We are Grok Talk, coming to you live, unless you're listening to the podcast, from Concord, New Hampshire, the center of all the evil in the state of New Hampshire. And there's some good. But anyway, lots going on. You first.
Yes.
Okay.
I had said all social issues have fiscal costs, and that's because almost all social issues have now become involved politically, and government is involved as well. And I'm glad that you caught that, Bill. Where you see the Republicans trying to stay away from the social issues because they feel, well, we'll lose votes that way. Well, you know something? That shows an abdication of principle. And there's no way that you can just govern on fiscal issues because, as we saw with the New Hampshire State Senate this week, which it did them no good whatsoever. The House gave a pretty good budget, well under what Maggie Hassan, Maggie the Red, had proposed, and the New Hampshire House kept the line. But yet there goes the Republican senators giving 60% of the increase that Maggie wanted. Well, did the Democrats and the left say thank you for overriding those nasty Republicans in the House? No, they didn't. They're still complaining that the Republicans, even in the Senate, are evil because they didn't give them every single sacred dollar that a Democrat had said. You're killing people. You're hurting the most vulnerable. You know something? A lot of this used to be charity in the civil society sector of our lives. And it is because big government keeps getting bigger and crowding out that civil society. There is no buffer anymore that allows us as individual actors to voluntarily give of ourselves. And a lot of us are starting to say, why should I give voluntarily when the government's forcibly forcing me to participate in charity? Some of it I like, and a lot of it I don't. I don't want to participate in abortions. I don't want to participate in a lot of stuff. But you're forcing me. And the more that you take out of my wallet, the less apt I am to do what de Tocqueville saw in the mid-1800s of Americans' greatest strength, which is the ability to voluntarily associate, band together, fix a problem, and when it's done, go away. And instead you have government programs that go on forever and are never judged on their merits.
You know, it's the zombie apocalypse, Skip. But, you know, I defend to the death the right of Planned Parenthood to exist as long as they follow current health regulations and they make their money from either for-profit activities or donations to enable them to provide services for the poor. But when they hold a gun to our heads and demand that we pay for things that we disagree with, that's where the problem is. And Republicans don't have the courage to most don't have the courage to stand up and simply say that. You know, and the other point I think that's important for all of us to acknowledge is that you can't have a fiscal house in order when there's social problems in society as a whole. For us to think that we can concentrate only on fiscal issues and ignore the social issues, the rampant breakdown of the family and the attempt of government through many programs to substitute themselves for parents is just an illusion. But you know, before we went on the break, you had mentioned something about Planned Parenthood and contraception. One of the things that is happening in Washington now, I don't think most of your listeners are probably aware of that. A number of Republican senators, and to her credit, Kelly Ayotte is one of them, have filed a bill that would allow birth control pills to be available over the counter, no prescription. And who should be one of the primary opponents of it? It's Planned Parenthood, because of two reasons. One is that they want to continue this war on women, and they'll keep it out of your medical plans, and we want to make sure they're in there, and they want to terrorize some religious organizations for not putting it into their employees' plans. They love it. It feeds to their base. But the other issue is much more direct and prosaic, and it's they make money on it. People have to go to Planned Parenthood clinics to get their prescriptions, and if they don't, if they just go to Walmart and buy it off the counter, then they're going to lose a huge source of income.
Yeah, like I said before the break, $1.2 billion is what they do in contraceptives every year.
So that issue, the left has the same position on that issue they have on issues, for example, involving the African American community, where they try to keep these programs in place in order to keep the African Americans and blacks in this country dependent.
It's control.
They want women who want to have access to contraceptives to be dependent, particularly poor women, to be dependent on Planned Parenthood clinics.
Yep, they want their own slave plantations, modern style.
Absolutely.
Jane.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am filling in for Mike, who's on the phone.
I see. Nice to see you.
Well, thank you.
Well, it's interesting you're talking about this because New Hampshire Right to Life recently had quite a bunch of documentation that came in under our Right to Know requests. And it's so interesting across the board that you see that the hike in prices for Planned Parenthood over-the-counter contraceptives is like 75% more to the consumer than if it was bought at another in another place. So when you're talking about, they don't want to lose the business, absolutely. But they're milking the business, and they're really screwing the consumer to get as much bang for their buck as they can. And I'm certain that, those that are usually in need of contraception, although today...
End the contraception cartel. Dun,
what
dun,
the
dun.
heck?
But Jane, why do we expect anything more from an organization that finds its genesis in the efforts of a woman to keep minorities from having children?
But they'll deny that till the cows come home.
Well,
because it's all about women's health care.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and someone who exalted in her writings over the fact that she was received so well at a Ku Klux Klan rally when she spoke to them.
There's so much documentation. If anybody Googles it, you will see where that all comes from. I mean, this isn't made-up stuff. This is facts that the left wants you to not know about. And so rather than deal with what we know is history on this subject, they'll say that we're just crazy right people that don't like women. Well, I'm a woman. I love women. And you know what?
And so much of the Democrat rhetoric and argument is fact-free, whether
No
it's
kidding.
Hands up, what was that? The Ferguson thing, hands up, I surrender.
Yeah, I surrender.
Whatever. And it's just all made up.
Totally.
The rape crisis on our college campuses, made up stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mike?
Yeah. I say, the old hands up, don't shoot. But
that's it.
Yeah, I mean, Margaret Sanger, the original National Socialist racist.
Right.
That's right. All right, George had something to say.
I did. I'm going to say that on this particular topic, I am the most liberal person in the room by a long shot.
Yes, you are.
Exactly.
Yes, you are.
But I've never hidden that. But let's get the government out. I mean, really, my argument is the government shouldn't be here. Women should be making their own decisions. They should be, unrestricted from intervention. And that's part of what we tried to do in the House.
But George, the leftists try to make us extremists on this. And as Senator Cruz was saying at this meeting last weekend, you have to ask them, what are you for when it comes to abortion? What they're for is abortion up to the minute of birth is permissible.
And afterwards.
And even after, if there's a partial live birth, that they're saying that's a woman's right, is to kill a child. And if you survey that through polling surveys, only 9% of the people would say abortions during the period of viability is acceptable. And yet, if Hillary Clinton, Elizabeth Warren, all the local Democrats here, that's their position. And yet, we're the extremists. No, by definition, they're extreme.
The problem with that is, and I've been saying this for years, I went to Fran Wendelbaugh. After J.R. Hall told me that I was, said I need to figure out my pro-life, pro-choice position. So I went to Fran and I said, this is where I am on all these issues. And she said, you're pro-life. Okay? And I said, well, but I have some interest in having a woman get an abortion in the first trimester. And she goes, well, that's still pro-life. Okay?
We wouldn't say that.
Well,
New Hampshire
no,
Right
but
to Life would not say that.
But then I talked to some other people and they say no. So one of the things that we have is a general definition that makes it so that pro-life is all the way over on the right, and you have pro-choice being everything else So they own being able to categorize
No,
me.
they really
Only
don't.
because you've given it to them.
That's right.
Oh, I agree.
Exactly
You don't
right.
have to give them that.
Absolutely.
They say we're pro-choice, but they want to murder babies that are viable.
I simplified the debate about life a while ago, and I talked to you about the other idea. What do you call it before conception? Is there a term for it before conception? Is there anything going on before conception? Absolutely not. What happens after conception? Life. And that's the end of the discussion, because you can't have any life at any point after that without conception. There's no way to do it.
Right.
You can't create it. It just happens then. And there is no other point after that where it is anything else. Because if it is, then you're just playing with numbers and moving boxes around it.
But see, that's the discussion they want us to have, Steve, is where on that continuum does life begin?
Conception.
And yet we should deal with them based on where they are.
Oh, absolutely.
And they are at a point that most of people in this country, all but 9%, would say, that's horrible, you're committing murder.
And that's the thing. And the organizations that support them with money, tons of money, expect them to hold that position
And there is
regardless.
There is the point of contention that we should be really focusing on. Life is an issue where, okay, it has a social implication, but you need to get the message to folks about what life is meaning for you, right, in order to beat that. What we don't have to do is cede this to leftist progressive media who will continue to paint those that believe that life begins at conception, or life, wherever you want, I guess, in the debate will begin, is someone that's out of touch and doesn't stand for women and their rights. I saw an article on the internet last night that discussed the past 37 Gallup polls on life in a very expanded version. Do you believe, expanded in the degree, do you believe in abortion? For the last 27 years, those Gallup polls have come back saying that they are against abortion, that the most public members are against abortion.
I got to move the camera. Go ahead, hold it up.
Hashtag.
Did you miss that? That's
pound sign.
If you didn't hear this,
J-ho must go.
That's how Jennifer Horn, J-ho. That's how he has her in her phone.
Well,
anyway,
I don't know. I think that's disrespectful, but certainly the issue of Jennifer Horn is one
J-lo,
that
J-ho.
yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
Anyway,
Well,
so
let me just say this.
Oh, Mike's talking. Hang on. Go ahead.
Why not? From one big ass actress to another.
Wow, we're going to get a lot of hits on this podcast.
I'm sure we are.
You know, again, I'm going to go back to Greenock Rock's other co-founder, Doug Lambert. And we were on the Arnie Arneson show when she was on
This
PBS.
Is awesome. This is so awesome.
And we were debating two people from Blue Hampshire. Of course, that started off real well. This young jerk came in, looked at us and said, I would have thought that you guys were much younger. And I said, great, we're starting off with an ageism slap.
Yeah.
Who was
Right.
that?
I forget his name. He's kind of disappeared. But
Don't you just hate
Kid
him?
who was around. He was head of the.
No, it wasn't
Hampshire.
Dean Barker. It wasn't Dean
No,
Barker.
not it's Ted something. No, I think he ran against me. He was head of the New Hampshire, the UNH College Democrats.
Could have been. It's faded.
They were like
It's-
turning out. They had like the chief lobbyist from Planned Parenthood ran against me at one point. They were like,
It's on
pulling everybody
Granite.
out.
It's actually on Greenock Rock somewhere. But Doug said something because we got on this idea of life, and Doug said the perfect thing because most people on the left are totally against the death penalty.
Yes.
But they're for abortion.
Right.
And Doug said very plainly, I will trade you the life of a guilty felon for the life of an innocent baby.
Wow, that's a great. And what was the response?
It would be speechless.
Yeah.
Well, let's do this. Nope. Oh, I just lost my camera. It was. They were speechless. They had no idea what to do. Oh, now it's back.
Loose connection.
Yes. Yeah. Uh-oh. Yeah. Bad connection. Here
All
we
right,
go.
we're going to take a quick break. We'll
Yeah,
come back
really
while you
bad.
fix whatever it is you
No,
have to
it's
fix.
fixed.
And-
It's
okay,
fixed,
Well,
but-
I'm still taking a break, so too bad.
Hi, this is Rich Gerard, host of Gerard at Large in the Morning, the Manchester area's only locally owned, locally operated, focused, and interested riveting radio show heard live every Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 on 90.7 FM WLMW New Hampshire Family Radio and available 24/7 live or archived at gerardatlarge.com. Be sure to tune in.
Rock Talk.